Uh, wait, that's not right. Vav Dalet. It's over here. Vav Dalet. What's going on? The last one in his volume, in volume A, is Vav Hey, is Vav Dalet. Right. Okay. Here it is. I put the issue in the wrong place. Okay. Vav Dalet. Vav Dalet. If one positions his hand or his foot on vegetable leaves so that the water should pass over into the barrel, the water is invalid. If he positioned reed leaves or walnut leaves, the water is valid. This is the general rule. If it is something that is susceptible to tumah, it is invalid. If it is something that is not susceptible to tumah, it is valid. If one diverts a spring into the vat of a wine press onto a water hose, the water is invalid for zavim, for mitzorim, and for consecrating it as mekatos, because it was not filled in a vessel. Okay, now I have to go, that is Vav Hey, and I have to go over to here, which is Zion Aleph, correct?
Yeah, Zion Aleph, sure.
Oh, okay. If five people fill barrels in order to perform five sanctifications and then divide it to perform a single sanctification, or if they fill the barrels in order to perform a single sanctification and then decided to perform five sanctifications, they are all valid. If a single person filled 5 barrels in order to perform 5 sanctifications and then decided to perform a single one, only the last one's valid. If he filled them in order to perform a single sanctification and then decided to perform 5 sanctifications, only the first one that he sanctified is valid. If he said to someone, sanctify these for yourself, only the first one is valid, and sanctify these for me, they are all valid. Okay, good.
Okay.
Time, baby.
Hamale, right, so base. Hamale ba'achas yado. So he's got two hands. So in one hand, he's scooping a bowl into the river and picking up the water, and in the other hand, he's busy scrolling on his phone. Okay.
Okay.
So this is simultaneous. So we're not talking about that he did a scoop and then he did a malacha, because that we already know. We already know that that's going to pass a bit. Okay. But what we're dealing with now is where it's done simultaneously. So you could say, okay, maybe he's concentrating on both. And the answer is, hamamale lo ula acher, or he's filling up one. He's got two hands, two bowls, and one is scooping up for himself, and the other one is scooping up for another person. Or he for two other people, and he's busy scooping up the water for both of them. Shneihem psulim. Or in all these cases, it's pasul. Now, there's okay, so the first thing that we learn is what's explicitly stated over here is that when it comes to filling, melacha pasuls whether you're doing it for yourself or for somebody else. Okay, because you're the person who's responsible. You're doing it on behalf of that person.
Right.
Okay, that's for the filling part. However, when it comes to the sprinkling part, as long as the person who's in charge of the water is still looking after it, then it's nobody else can passel it through doing their malacha. So the second thing that's important over here is that it's not just in between after filling; it's the simultaneous thing. And yeah, it's not necessarily one of the commentaries that I looked at explains that it's not coming to teach us anything about melacha. We already know that melacha pasels the water, but also that hesech das. The reason why melacha is pasel is because of hesech das, because you're taking your mind off it. Okay, so if you fill the water and then you start scrolling through your phone, you've taken your mind off the water. Boom, it's gone. Now, even if you're doing it at the same time, you're scrolling on your phone and you're scooping the water out, and you say, "Oh, but during the action, it's not affecting it." So yeah, because I can concentrate on two things at once, and the Mishna is going to tell you, no, you cannot concentrate on two things at once. If you're doing it while you're at the same time as you're doing something else, even if it's two hands holding two bowls and you're scooping for two people, there's a hesech das involved over here. Because there are two separate actions happening at the same time, and both of them are going to end up being pasul. Okay, Gimel hamakadesh b'achas yado v'oseh melacha b'achas yado. Okay, so now he's doing sprinkling. Okay, if he does the sprinkling with one hand and he's busy scrolling his phone on the other hand, imlo pasul. If he's doing it for himself, in other words, he drew the water, and now he's sprinkling on his own water. This is possible because the malacha interferes between him drawing the water and doing the sprinkling. Im la'acher kasher. However, if it's somebody else's water, that doesn't passel it because the somebody else presumably is looking after the water. Okay. Im la'acher kasher. Hamakadesh lo ula'acher. If he's sprinkling for himself and for somebody else, so he's got two bowls in front of him. Shelo pasul b'shel acher kasher. Then his own one is going to become pasul because now he's being distracted by the fact that he's sprinkling for somebody else. But the sprinkling for somebody else does not interfere with the other person who's looking after the water, and that remains kosher. I mean, if he's doing the sprinkling for two other people simultaneously, then both of them come out okay because his malacha, the sprinkling does not get interrupted by malacha. Only the drawing of the water is interrupted by malacha. Okay. Now let's play out four possible scenarios of two people who are drawing water and sprinkling ashes, and trying to cooperate with each other. So the first guy says, Kadesh li, listen, I've got some water over here. Kadesh li, Kadesh lach. We both got water drawn. You sprinkle for me and I'll sprinkle for you. Okay, just to show that we're good friends. Okay, well, Harishon kasher. The first guy who sprinkles the ashes, that's good because there was no interruption. But now, because he's taken his mind off his own water, his own water is going to be pasul. Okay, now I'll do it this way. You fill up a water for me, and I'll fill up a water for you. Okay, so now which one's going to be pasul? The guy who comes second and fills up water for the other guy, his own water is going to become pasul because his action is a malacha interfering with his own water. Okay, ha'achron kasher. Only the last one that was filled will be kasher. Kadesh li v'amalelach. If you sprinkle ashes in my water, then I'll go and fill up for your water. So then what's going to happen is as soon as he sprinkles the ashes on the first guy's water, it's all done. There's nothing else can go wrong. So now the second guy goes and fills up the second guy's bowl. No problem. Both of them are going to be kosher. Shneim ksherim. Malei v'akadesh lach. You fill up the water for me, and then I'll be makadesh for you. So that means that the guy he's asking has already got water drawn. He's saying, draw some more water for me. So as soon as he draws the water for him, then his own water becomes pasul. So, and then the first guy comes and he sprinkles ashes in this pasul water, and his malacha immediately messes up his own water. So both of them are going to be pasul.
I just want to understand, sanctify for me, and then I will fill for you. They're both valid.
Both good, yeah. Because the first one gets completed before you start drawing the water for the second one.
Fill for me, and then I will sanctify for you.
Yeah, sanctify means putting the ashes.
So
once the ashes are sprinkled, we close the chapter. It's all done. Nothing further can go wrong with Hesech Das.
Okay. All right. I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Good. Okay. All right. We're now going back to Gimel. There it is. Gimel Zion. The Parah did not want to leave. We do not make a black cow. We do not take a black cow along with it, so that people should not say they slaughtered the black cow. Now a red cow, so that people should say they slaughtered two paras adumas. Rejovsi says it is not because of this reason, but rather because it is stated, and he shall take out, which means it alone. And the elders of Israel received the delegation by foot on the mouth of oil, and there was an immersion over there, and there was an immersion room there. And they would render tummy the Kohen who was to burn the Parah on account of the seducers, and so that they should not say that the Parah Aduma service was performed by those who experienced sunset. They would place their hands on him and say to him, my master Kohen Gadol, immerse once. Then he would descend into the mikveh, immerse, and come up and dry himself. And there were logs arranged there, and either a cedar lower water box or a smooth fig wood, and they would make it into a sort of tower, and they would open windows in it, and its face was westward. They would bind the paraduma with a rope of brush and place it on top of the pyre with his head toward the south and the face toward the west. The Kohen Gadol would stand to the east and his face to the west. He would slaughter the paraduma with his right hand and receive his blood in his left hand. The Yehuda says he would receive the blood in his right hand and put it in his left hand and sprinkle it with his right hand. He would dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle blood 7 times in the direction of the Holy of Holies. For every sprinkling there would be a dipping. When he was finished sprinkling, he would wipe his hand on the body of the paraduma. He would descend from the fire and kindle the fire with twigs. Rabbi Akiva says with palm fronds. Okay. And we go on to, you see, we're going on to, here we go, base gimel. A cow is born by cesarean section in a harlot's hire. And
Wait, where are you going to?
I thought I was going to the base gimel.
Why?
I don't know. I thought I was supposed to.
No, we don't have. We're not there at all. We've done
finished?
it. We're now in the game.
Right. Okay. Let's put this back over here. I was doing more than I thought. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. Vav Vav. Red said, Reb Shimon, when is this true? When it's exactly the size of a lentil. If it was larger than a lentil, the extra area is a symptom of expansion for the inner mega, and the outer one is a tame. If it contains a dull white blemish smaller than a lentil, it's a symptom of expansion for the inner one, but not for the outer one. There are 24 extremities on the body that do not become tummy because of mikya. The tips of the fingers and the toes, the tips of the ears, the tips of the nose, the tip of the body, and a woman's nipples. Rabbi Yehuda says a man's nipples as well. Rabbi Eliezer says also warts and hanging skin do not become tummy because of mikya. These are the parts of the body that do not become tummy because of baharas. Inside the eye, inside the ear, inside the nose, or inside the mouth, in the folds of skin, or in the folds of skin on the neck. Under the breast, the armpit, the sole of the foot, the nail, the head, and the beard, a boil, burn, or wound, like literally a boil or a wound, literally a boil or a burn or a wound that is rebellious. The above mentioned parts of the body do not become tummy because of Nagayim, nor do they become by with Nagayim, nor does the nega spread onto them, nor do they become tummy because of Mikir, nor do they prevent him from having the status of turning completely white. If the head or beard became bald, or if the boil, burn, or wound developed a scab, they become tummy because of Nagayim, but they are not combined. The Nagayim and the nega cannot spread onto them. They do not become tummy because of mikya, and they prevent the status of someone who turns completely white. The head and the beard do not, because before they have grown hair, the hanging skin on the head and the beard are judged like skin of the body. Okay.
That's it. Yep, Kalim.
Thank you. Okay. We have Yud test. A chest whose opening is on the side can become tummy with midras tumor and with corpse tumor. Rabbi Yossi says, when is it so? When it is not 10 handbreadths high and it has no rim or one handbreadth. If the chest became damaged at its top, it become tummy with corpse tumor. If it became damaged at its bottom, Reb Meir rules it tummy, but the sages rule it tahor, because when the primary function of a utensil is disabled, its secondary function is considered disabled as well. Regarding a maspalis container that became too damaged to hold pomegranates, Rebbe rules a tummy, but the sages rule a tahor, because when the primary function of a utensil is disabled, its secondary function is considered disabled as well. Here we go. Regarding pillows, mattresses, sacks, and martufin that became damaged, these can become tummy with midras tumor. A feed basket with a capacity of 4 calves, a shepherd's pouch with a capacity of 5 calves, a caresis with a capacity of a saw, saya, a raw skin with a capacity of 7 calves. Rehuda says also a spice bag and a traveler's bag of any size. All of these are susceptible to midras tumor, but if any of these become damaged, they are tahor, because the primary function is disabled and the secondary function is disabled as well.
Okay.
Okay, we have Zion base. A bird olah which one made above in the manner of an olah offering for the designation of an olah is valid. If he made it in the manner of an olah offering for the designation of katos, it is valid, but if not credited to the owner. In the manner of a katos offering for the designation of olah, or in the manner of a katos offering for the designation of katos, it is invalid. If he made it below in any of these manners, it's invalid. And all of them do not contaminate with tumor via the throat, but one is subject to the laws of Mila on their account, except for the bird katos, which was made below in the manner of a katos offering for the designation of katos. If a bird olah was made below in the manner of a katos offering for the designation of katos, Reb Eliezer says one is subject to me'ila on its account, but Reb Yeshua says one is not subject to me'ila on its account. Said Reb Eliezer, if a katos offering which is not subject to me'ila when it has been offered by its own designation is nevertheless subject by its mila, when one changes designation, then an olah offering which is subject to a me'ila when it is offered for its own designation should surely be subject to me'ila when he changes designation. But Yeshua says to him, not so. If this can be said of a katos offering whose designation was changed to an olah, it is because he has changed his designation to something which is subject to Me'ilah. Can the same be said of an Ola offering whose designation one changed for a Katos, in which case he has changed his designation to something which is not subject to Me'ilah? Said Rabbi Eliezer to him, let most holy offerings which are slaughtered in the southern part of the courtyard, which he slaughtered for the lesser holiness designation, serve as proof, and that he has changed the designation to something not subject to Me'ilah. And yet they are subject to Me'ilah. So too should you not wonder at the Ola offering that even when one changes designation to something not subject to Me'ilah, it nevertheless remains subject to Me'ilah. Rabbi Yeshua says, not so. If this can be said of most holy offerings which were slaughtered on the southern part of the courtyard, and which he slaughtered for lesser holiness designation, is because he changed his designation to something which is forbidden parts and permissible parts. Can you say the same for the Ola offering whose designation one changed to something which is entirely permissible? Okay. We are going to see okay.
Service
Okay.
testimony.
Okay, here we go. If one left produce of statue in the ground, whoever comes first gains possession of it. If the wife gained possession of more than her ketubah, or if the creditor gained possession of more than his debt, the difference, or Tarfon says, shall be given to the weakest among them. Given to among them. I missed something. Remember,
You're doing fine.
clemency is shown in judgment. Rather, it shall be given to the heirs, for they shall require an oath. Correct?
Well, Rabbi Akiva says there's no compassion in judgment.
Right.
Rather,
it shall be given to his heirs, for they all require an oath. The Akiva says no clemency is shown in judgment. Rather, it shall be given to the heirs, for all of them require an oath. The heirs do not require an oath. If one sets up his wife as a storekeeper, or he appointed her as administrator, he may impose an oath on her whenever he wishes. Elias says, even concerning a spindle on a dough. If he wrote to her, I have neither a vow nor an oath upon you, he cannot oppose an oath upon her. But he can oppose an oath upon her heirs or her successors. If he wrote, I have neither a vow nor an oath upon you, your heirs or your successors, he cannot oppose an oath upon her heirs or her successors, but his heirs can impose an oath upon her heirs and her successor. If he wrote, nevertheless, I, my heirs, nor my successors have a vow or an oath upon you, your heirs or your successors, neither he, his heirs, nor his successors can impose an oath upon her heirs or her successors. If she went from her husband's grave to her father's house, or if she went back to her father-in-law's house, was not made.
No, that's it. We're done.
Right.
We're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And last we have Truma.
Okay, we're in Masters now.
Masters, right. The same book, so okay. They establish a general rule regarding maasros. Whatever is food and is garden and grows in the soil is liable to maasros. And they established another general rule. Whatever food is at the beginning and it's food at the conclusion, even though he keeps it to increase the food, is liable, whether small or large. But whatever is not food at the beginning, but is food at the conclusion, is not liable until it becomes food. When do fruits become liable to maasros? Figs when they reach the bochel stage, grapes and wild grapes at their incipient maturity, and sumac and mulberries when they become red, and all the red fruits when they become red. Pomegranates when they soften, dates when they swell, peaches when they show veins, nuts when they form a store. And Yehuda says nuts and almonds when their skin has been formed. Carobs when they form dark spots, and all that is black when they form dark spots. Pears, pippins, quinces, and crab apples when they become smooth, and all that is white when they become smooth. Fenugreek when it is able to grow. Grain and olives when they have reached a third. Okay.
Done.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Concerning my cat. It looks like we're going to pat